Alright, tonight's video, we're going to be installing the head. We're going to be setting on the lifters, rockers. We'll be installing the cam. It's already assembled, but for video reasons we'll show you how to do that. We'll also set the timing gear on, the timing chain. We'll adjust all that tension. We'll show you guys how to do that on tonight's video. Let's go get started. Alright, so we're going to remove the rockers just so that you guys can see for video purposes. What I'm going to do is mark this, and you'll see when we put this back together why we do it this way. It's just easier to line everything up because we know where they're supposed to point to. Because these do slide. Once we take it up, these rockers will slide back and forth, so it's just good so that we're pointing. And if you can see where there's a line here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, lift it straight up, put it straight down, and try not to move them. Just leave them like how they lay. Just leave them like they are. Just leave them like they are and try not to move them. Okay, now we got these restrictor plates that hold the lifters in, and then these should just slide out. If they don't slide out, and you have a stuck lifter. And this one's pretty tight in here, but it still slides out. Now they're interchangeable, so they can come out one hole and go in another one. Doesn't really matter too much. I'm gonna grab some needle nose pliers. Just don't want to put too much pressure on them when you're pulling them out. Just enough to snug them. And then what you want to check for in your lifters, they're hydraulic, so you want to be able to push those down, okay? So if they push down, then there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly fine. As long as they go in and out of the hole and you have plenty of lubrication in there and they come up and down, then the lifters are fine. So now we're going to remove the cam.
Yep.
All right, now it's got a 5mm Allen bolt to remove that cap that holds the camshaft in place. And now all that the lifters are out, we should be able to slide the cam out. Okay, I'm going to take the timing gear and I'm going to put it on there. That way it just gives me something for the bolt to bite to, so that I have some rigidity when I pull the crank or the camshaft out. So I'm going to just grab my hand like here and just kind of hold it as I wiggle it out. And just go slow so you don't ruin the cam lobes. Kind of turn it a little bit as you need to remove it. All right. So that's pretty much all we're going to do on the head. We're going to put the cam shaft back in. We're going to put the lifters back in. We're going to put the seats back on, and then we're going to set the valves. And we'll torque the head down. All right, the important part, you want to just take some assembly lube. This is assembly lube that we're using by Stable Lube. Just put some on your hand. And you want to put them on every one of the journals, so that when it goes together, you have a little bit of lubrication in there. Gonna work your way around. Now we can go ahead and put it in. And just go real slow. Use the back of it to kind of hold it up. Wiggle it in. It's kind of good to use your finger here in the back, just kind of guide it into place. All right, so then I'm just going to kind of spin it to work some of that grease in, and then we're just going to do the same thing with the lifters. Just put a little assembly lube on each one. All right, this is an important step. You want to spin the camshaft a little bit, and you want to watch the lifters rise up and fall back down on their own accord. Because if they don't, then you'll have a stuck lifter. Sometimes these bores over here like to stick. So you want to make sure that it goes up and it comes down all on its own. And then when it does that, then we can go ahead and put our plates back on and get everything lined up. This holds the lifters straight. You don't need any assembly lube on this. The cams just all have to be facing the same direction. And then do the same thing again. Spin that and make sure that all those lifters come up and fall back down. Then you know that you've got lubrication and that the lifters are moving correctly. Now we'll go and put the rockers on, and we'll show you how to do that and set that. All right, now we're going to go and set the rockers on here. When you lift them up, they're going to all want to spin on their own. So what I find that works the best is just kind of hold them the best that you can, just so that they don't spin on you. Like there's one that spins, because these can be really hard to get into position. Okay. And I'll just kind of work this into place. The valves can be a little hard. So what you want to do is kind of start with one side and get it set, and then just kind of hold it as you wiggle the next one into place. That's why I marked them, so that you know where they're pointing. And it does take a little bit of time to kind of finesse them into place. But if you're just patient, you can get it. So there you go. That's pretty much in place. Got to kind of turn them. And now if you come a little bit closer, just tilt it forward. If you come a little bit closer, you can actually see why it was important for me to mark these, because now I know which one goes in which direction, and then all I got to do now is just line everything up and crank down the bolts, and we'll come back in a minute. Go ahead and put the bolts in. Pretty self-explanatory, but as we tighten them down, we want to work from the inside out. So we'll do these two, these two, these two, these two, and these two, so that it evenly torques out, just like we're going to do when we torque the head down. All right, now this will happen if you're not paying attention. You see how the lifter and the rocker are offset? I wasn't paying attention when I torqued that down, so now I need to untorque all these, raise it back up, slide it over just a little bit because it's off center. So be careful when you're doing it. Make sure that everything's lined up before you tighten it down. All right, now that we've got the rockers in place and got the cam installed, we're going to go ahead and install the cam plate. Go ahead and install the timing chain and the timing gears. So what you want to do is put the timing gear for the head and the crankshaft, the camshaft on first, and then we're going to put it on the bottom. Make sure that we're timing markers straight up and down. Make sure that our gears are set like they're supposed to be. This knot should be straight up and down, and this knot should be straight up and down. And once that's in place, we can pull the bolt in here in the camshaft, and then we're going to put the two tensioners on. Now we're going to put on the tensioner. This needs to go on first. There's a little lock lever right here. We want to push this up so that we can push that all the way in. And we're going to put the two 10mm bolts into place. Okay, right at the top here, it says top. Don't know if you can see that, but just want to make sure you get it lined up right. You try to put it in the other way, it will not work.